Hello and welcome to this episode of the Big Rican on Sports podcast. I am your host. I am the Big Rican. And it's 2 nights after the All-Star game because the older boy had to work last night and I had to go pick him up. But here they are, as promised. Tone from Cardboard and Cracker Jacks, which we're going to have you for a little bit to go do that afterwards. And, of course, Alex from row 7. Gentlemen, I am renaming our segments. It will now be the Big Rican Baseball Show because that is what we do best. And yes, we will have you guys on for other stuff, but this has been our niche ever since I reached out to our buddies at TimeSkew and said, hey, I need baseball people. And they sent me you guys, and I got to tell you, it's been over a year now. You believe that? We did our first show last June.
Wow.
Time flies, and it's been a lot of fun talking baseball with both of you fellas. I like talking it with both of you guys because obviously Alex is Sox brain and Big Mike, Big Rican is a great Mets brain, so I like picking both of your brains about baseball. We all bring different but good perspectives, I feel like, and it's nice when us three have conversations because we remind people you could disagree on sports topics and still be friends at times, but we do all see the game beautifully as well. So I do appreciate the year or over the year now. Holy crap, it's already midway through July, but it's always a great time. I know I missed your guys' shows here and there due to some internet issues and whatnot, but I'm here for the long haul, and I look forward to many more of these. So thanks again.
You're very welcome. And I will say this. I want to jump into the first half of a phenomenal baseball season that we have had so far. Let's talk about how the first half wrapped up, and I'm going to start with Monday night. And I am going to start with what I walked into my mother-in-law watching a replay of because the Yankees have COVID again. I walked in as the man, the myth, the legend, the polar bear, put up 35 in the first round. Mm-hmm. And the best part is, I don't know if you guys heard this, when Taijuan Walker went up to him during the timeout, he looked him in the face and said, yo, I need 35. And Pete was like, okay.
I did not hear that, but that is incredible, and that's what makes the thing so special.
Well, it's funny because I was actually texting with Alex and my buddy Nick, who I've talked about on here Monday night, and they were like, oh, Mancini put up a good round, and I was like, it's a wrap. This is over. But here's the funny thing. Talk about symmetry. He beat Guerrero in the final round in 2019, 23-22. He beat a player from the NL Central first, the NL East second, and the AL East third, both years, beating Carlos Santana, Ronald Acuna, and then Vladdy in 19. Who was it? The first round was Salvador Perez. He beat Soto, and then, of course, Trey Mancini, who is the only person I would not have been upset that he would lose to in the final round. So I want you boys to put your thinking caps on and imagine this. Next year's All-Star game is in L.A. Mm-hmm. How'd you like to see him and Mike Trout swinging in the final round?
Ooh, that would be fantastic.
Right?
I know.
Fantastic.
I know it's a long shot too, but say if Pujols does kick the tire, why not throw it back and put a little Albert Pujols splash in the middle? Even though this is probably the end, but that'd be a lot of fun if they threw back the clock and put Pujols in the middle of that as well to reminisce old times. That would be incredible. Pete Alonso, the real drive too. People always say this guy loves the Derby a ton, and you look at it really, and it's because he makes more money from winning the home run Derby than he does from his baseball contract. So he makes $1 million from winning the Derby, and then he makes $750K a year, I believe, from his baseball contract. So him against Trout would be fun because Trout would be pushed to the limits based on Pete's pure willingness alone to win, just based on the money he makes from victories.
Yeah, he made $500,000 last year, so he doubled his salary when he won, but he donated $50,000 of that to 2 different organizations in New York. Same thing this year, $660 this year. $50,000 apiece to 2 separate organizations in New York. So Pete gets it.
Hold on, we have breaking news. The Cubs have traded Jock Peterson. The Cubs have traded the Atlanta Braves. Jock Peterson is now a member of the Atlanta Braves, and you must wonder, Bob Nightingale reports this, and you must wonder if that's the first of many dominoes to fall for a busy Cubs team. So we have breaking news in to Chicago Cubs Twitter. Atlanta with Ronald Acuna going down. Jock Peterson's on the move, heading to Atlanta. So that's interesting, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt there. Sorry for that.
No,
but
no.
Jock Peterson is now officially off the Cubs, and it was a short-lived tenure for Jock, but I do appreciate his hard-fought efforts. In Chicago, he gave me a thumbs up while I briefly chatted with him. Seemed like a cool guy. So I'm going to miss Jock, but we knew a guy like Jock was really one of these pieces we were going to be looking to trade because it's not a core guy, and you're going to get some young players back. So Jock is on the move.
So then why don't we do this? Let's not worry about redoing the first half. Let's dive into what's coming up, and that is the greatest day this side of the playoffs, and that is the Major League Baseball non-waiver trade deadline, July 31st. So, Tone, it is very well publicized that your boys are going to be sellers. I said to Alex before you came on, before we went on, the Chicago Cubs have had a heavy scout presence watching the St. Lucie Mets. So, first of all, I don't want to trade for a bat right now. I think the Mets need pitching, but they're also going to be Cole Hamels' workout. And I told Alex, Cookie pitched tonight in Brooklyn and was sharp. So let's cross the fingers. But let's dive into what the Cubs are going to do here, because this is a franchise that, even though they were second tier for many, many years, always sold out Wrigley Field. It feels like to me, with the resurgence they had starting in 2015 with that run to the NLCS against the Mets, and then the championship 108 years in the making in 16, do you think the fan base will turn on them if they start selling these guys off like hotcakes? I mean, if Jock's not a big domino when it comes to the Cubs, but if Chris Bryant, let's say Chris Bryant is moved to the Mets, or, and at that point in time, you're talking, you already have a bad taste in your mouth from Darvish being traded to San Diego. You move Chris Bryant to the Mets. Is this something that you think can turn the fan base against the franchise? And then, Alex, I want you to weigh in as a Southsider on that one.
So begin the year, obviously, me and a plethora of Cubs fans wanted to win. I'm still in win now mode, and obviously the Cubs aren't, and it's sad to see. I think when your franchise is so used to winning for a long period of time, it's hard to flip the page, especially, the Cubs, they won the World Series, and then they really never lived up to that stature shortly after. So it was interesting to see, but I do believe that this is the first of many dominoes to fall. I told my buddies in the Cubs group chat a couple days ago that guys like Jock, guys like Zach Davies, a couple other guys who have came on this team in the last year or two, older veterans especially, would be the first to go, and then they're going to get into the bigger guys. Now, I don't think as many big guys will move as people think. Obviously, Kimbrel, you could pretty much count on as good as being gone, and they might actually get the most value back for him out of anyone available, just because we've seen what teams who trade for relievers end up doing in the long run, and that's why I think the Mets would be a great fit for a bullpen arm. I think a guy like Craig Kimbrel to the Mets would be amazing for their bullpen. Lugo's good when he pitches, but he is, trouble staying on the field here and there. And then Edwin Diaz, although he's off to a good start, you never know what you're getting out of him exactly. But obviously, you connected the dots. Cubs have had scouts there. And this interests me. I don't think this pushes the envelope on Rizzo at all, but the player the Cubs got back is a first base prospect from the Braves, Bryce Ball. Not a very highly touted prospect, but he is a top 10 Braves prospect. So it's interesting to see. Does that mean someone has their eye on Rizzo? Could he be on the move? And the way he's played this year, he's not going to get that huge contract from the Cubs next year. So either really he stays on the Cubs and gets non-tenure next year, yada, 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 or he's going to have to, take one of those one-year Josh Donaldson $10 to $15 million type contracts next year. So you really think a guy like Anthony Rizzo's in doubts of getting traded now. And then obviously Javier Baez comes along. Ryan Tepera will be traded. He's been a really good bullpen arm for the Cubs this year as well. And you also know that Andrew Chafin will probably be traded as well. The Cubs acquired him last year from Arizona at the deadline. He's a lefty specialist out of their bullpen. They call him the Sheriff. He's been one of their big threes. So it's the first of many dominoes to fall. To me, the absolutely 100% guys who will be traded are Chafin, Tepera, Kimbrel. I think those three are as good as gone. I think Zach Davies is as good as gone. And then I think out of Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant, I think you only see one of those three go. I don't think you see all three, and then I think they're going to keep the other two around. And those two and Willie will be their little core of the future because they did say they're not going to tear the whole thing down. So I think you see guys like Kimbrel, Tepera, Chafin, Davies gone, and then one of the big three, Baez, Rizzo, Bryant gone. The other two end up staying, and maybe Bryce Ball, the first baseman the Cubs acquired from Atlanta, is an indicator that Rizzo might be on the move sooner than later. You never know.
Well, I will say this. I'm pretty sure they viewed Bryce Ball as the heir apparent to Freddie Freeman. So that's a big move by Atlanta.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
I'm pretty sure that's the name. And again, when it comes to me in Atlanta, we all know how I feel about Atlanta. But let's digress, and let me ask you this real quick, and I want to go to Alex with the White Sox, what their view of the Cubs doing this is. Would a deal around J.D. Davis and maybe even a Ronnie Mauricio and maybe one or two other prospects, do you think that could get the Mets Kimbrel and Chris Bryant?
It's tough because, again, I think the Cubs are going to start, especially after the Darvish trade. I think Cubs got an okay package, but I think they knew that they could have done a little better. So I think when the Cubs go fishing this time around, they're going to be looking for the best of the best. So what can they do to maximize that? I mean, Mauricio's obviously a really good prospect. He's a shortstop. He's highly touted in the Mets organization for sure. So they're going to have interest there. But to me, I don't think that package lands both of those guys. I think a package centering around Mauricio could certainly land him. Craig Kimbrel, will it be enough for the Cubs to tip their cap and throw in a guy like, I think if anything, if they really do throw in that big time package, you're probably going to be pushing for a guy that's going to be like a Francisco Alvarez and that type of deal.
I don't think they're going to part with Francisco Alvarez, but Ronnie Mauricio is a nice chip for somebody because they just signed Francisco Lindor to a 10-year contract.
And Mauricio's a beautiful trade piece, and that's why I really think he could land you guys one of the big fish. I don't think he could land you guys two big fish in one trade, especially with the demand. I mean, think about it now. Again, last year baseball wasn't real life. It was fun to watch. It was great coming out of COVID. Don't get me wrong. I loved it last year. It was beautiful. But people forgot how baseball – developed another wild card team. Now a lot more teams are buyers at the trade deadline. A lot more people are offering a lot more for these guys. I mean, it's crazy to think about what the Cubs gave up for guys like Chapman and Quintana. I mean, Chapman at least won us a World Series, but Quintana, obviously, we've seen how that played out. But that just goes to show if teams want a player, they're going to go up and give up maybe one, maybe two, maybe four top prospects. You never know what teams are willing to do in July.
Yeah, that's very true. So, Alex, I want to flip the script here, and I want to go to the guy with the biggest lead in divisional play, and this fan of the Chicago White Sox. So, as you see what's going on with the Cubs, do the White Sox have a need that a player from the Cubs could fill? I know, is it Eloy or Luis Robert that's going to start the rehab assignment?
Eloy is already in Charlotte, their AAA affiliate.
Okay.
So he probably will be back within the next week or two, I would say, at the latest.
Okay, so now if Eloy comes back, you're talking you guys need an arm more than a bat, I would think.
I would think so. I'm probably thinking they need a little more bullpen help. It's been kind of a plus to have Hendricks, but he's kind of hit or miss at times and kind of tends to give up a little bit of home runs. I think he's given up 8 already this year from your closer. So it would be nice to have another bat as well too. I know we have a hole right now at second base. Leori Garcia's kind of been filling that role for the time being, but I don't foresee the White Sox being foolish and kind of making one of those dire trades to try and go after a Trevor Story or Eduardo Escobar, because it seems like both of those organizations are asking for a boatload. And I would hope that the White Sox were smart enough not to just mortgage their franchise for a rental, essentially. So that's kind of how I look at it. In terms of going after somebody from the Cubs, maybe you can land yourselves like a Tepera or a Chafin, but I don't see them going after a Kimbrel because they already have themselves Hendricks. So
I could definitely see it to pair Chafin, especially with a guy, a couple of their usual guys struggling back there. Not their closer, obviously, but a couple other guys. I could see a Chafin or Tepera.
It's possible, but I mean, I like where they're sitting right now. 8 games up, guys are getting healthy, but it would not do them any harm going after trying to make a trade with a team who is in need of talent to rebuild. So if they can get themselves like an Adam Frazier from the Pirates, top of the lineup kind of guy, he can hit. That's what you need right now to kind of plug the gap in a sense after losing Madrigal for the season.
Yeah, and the Mets were linked to Frazier too, but it made no sense to me because McNeil's starting to hit, and I love watching him and Lindor in the middle, man. So let's go to other guys we think could be on the move at the deadline. Let's back away from the Cubs for just a second. Let's get a broader picture. Let's talk Trevor Story. Now, great showing in his home park in the home run derby. What team do you think fits Story? Because I have one that people are going to look at me funny.
I have one that I think people might look at me funny as well. And
who you got?
You guys take this how you want, and I believe before the year started, and I know the deficit in the division is big, but the wild card is there for the taking if they make the right moves. They traded their shortstop. They have 1, 2, 3. They have 5 top 100 prospects. What if a team like the Indians were to go out and make a big splash for a guy like Trevor Story? We've seen them move pitching around for hitting before. They moved a big arm and got a guy like Puig in before at the deadline, and then Puig became a free agent. So what if it's a quick dump to tell their fans, hey, we're still playing this year? Because, Terry Francona will never like to rebuild, and he's getting older. This will rejuvenate their lineup. Probably won't happen, but it would fit beautiful, especially with the exit to Lindor. And they're hidden. And I told you guys, Twins, I think I called before the year that the Twins would struggle. Not that the Indians are giving the White Sox any run for their money, but I think I said that they'd be the closest team. And Trevor Story would be nice for them. But the White Sox, I heard, were actually linked to Trevor Story. Jeff Passan said that Trevor Story is a fit for the White Sox. So that would be incredible. But my thing is, you'd have to figure, obviously, him or Tim Anderson would have to shift to second base. Probably not Tim Anderson because he's their all-star. Trevor Story, would he want to play? Where would he want to play? It would get tough, maybe designated. You never know what would happen. But I heard the White Sox by Jeff Passan. I think the Indians would be a fit, but any team would love to have Trevor Story.
Here's my dark horse, and it's even darker when I think about who they have there now. How about Oakland?
Oakland has been the team that's has had the most connection, honestly.
Yeah, and so you move Story to second, you move Andrews to second base.
Mm-hmm.
And now your middle infield is, I think, the best in that division.
I mean, that whole entire infield would be solid.
Not better than Houston.
I don't know.
Correa and Altuve.
I think Elvis Andrews at second base would be just as good defensively. And the year
are you talking about
offensively?
Offensively, he's not really pushing the envelope.
No, but he's having a decent year in comparison to what he normally does.
Altuve, though, he's having almost MVP-type-esque numbers. Not saying he will in the year. There's a lot of AL guys balling out, but Altuve's rejuvenated his career a little bit. He has 20 bombs, 55 ribbies, 4 steals, 280 average. And then Correa, we know what he could do. But, I mean, both would be good tandems, but Elvis Andrews this year hasn't really done too well offensively. I think he's hitting below 240 actually. So
I know Houston's at the top right now, but Correa's a free agent next year. So are they going to go out and do a long-term extension with him, or are they going to let him walk at the end of this year?
That's a great point.
And I know they're in first place right now, but
there's a ton of shortstop free agents too. So how does that impact the rest of the market as well? When you got 4 or 5 top of the line free agent shortstops, it's like, you got a lot to choose from if you're a team in need of a shortstop.
I mean, if you think of it this way, these are the guys that are free agents: Baez, Correa, Story, Seager, and
There's
oh,
one
there's
more.
one more.
There's one
There's
more.
one more.
There's one more. Let me look.
This is going to annoy me.
Same.
But so, Alex, I mean, your boy's got a pretty decent lead. Do you think if they stayed pat at the deadline, if Cleveland gets healthy, they can keep their lead?
I do think so, but I think they are going to make some type of move. They won't. I would hope, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that they're not going to stay idle at the deadline. I'm not saying they need to make a splash landing. I have heard the connection between them and Trevor Story, but you're not going to move Tim Anderson, your starting shortstop, to second base, and I don't foresee Trevor Story wanting to just come to Chicago and say I'll play second base. I don't really see that happening. It's going to be a pretty expensive rental, and who would they have to give up? I don't really want to see that, even though I'd like to have Trevor Story in the black and white pinstripes. But
I tell you what, though, if Trevor Story moved to second base, where does he now rank in the top echelon of second baseman in the game?
he's up there, no doubt.
That might make him more money.
You're not kidding. Yeah. I mean, like I said, would I like to see him batting second in that lineup? Of course. In front of Jose Abreu, in front of Eloy, in front of Luis Robert. And then you're going to get Grandal back at a certain point.
Oh, that was rough.
That was tough to see, but he's supposed to come back sometime middle to end of August, so hopefully by September at the latest. But you add a guy like Story to that lineup, and that's scary. Probably 1 through 8.
That is scary, 1 through 8. And then, of course, your 9-hitter, you just kind of plug somebody into play. They had somebody playing left field earlier in the year. He was a converted first baseman. What was his name?
They got Andrew Vaughn right now playing left field.
Yep.
That's okay.
Who as far as I'm concerned, even when Eloy comes back, and I'm steadfast,
he's been decent.
He's your starting left fielder. I do not put Eloy at all in left field unless it's one time a week.
Wait, and I seen, not to cut off again, but another interesting thing here, quick on Jock Peterson that John Heyman's reporting. No money changed hands in deal, so Atlanta picks up $3 million plus remaining on Peterson's contract. Braves stayed outside their top 20 prospects. Also, as Ken Rosenthal points out, if things don't improve for the Braves, they could wind up flipping Jock Peterson. So it sounds like the Braves are kind of doing one of those things where, hey, let's trade now, 15 days before the deadline, 14 days before the deadline. Let's see if Jock can help us. And we've seen a couple teams do this before. It's not often, but we've seen a couple teams trade, see how it works, and then we've seen guys get dealt right away. So we'll see if Jock ends up helping Atlanta or ends up getting traded again.
Listen, I've seen it too. The Mets have actually done that. So I definitely get where that could come from. So Jock Peterson's the first domino to fall. If you had to put money on it, who's next?
Craig Kimbrell is a hot commodity, and Andrew Chafin. I'm thinking one of those two right away will be dealt. The year that Andrew Chafin has been having, the year that Craig Kimbrell has been having. Tepera is having a good year, but he took a step back over the past month or so. He's still having an incredible year, but Kimbrell is looking like the Kimbrell that the Cubs thought they were going to get a couple years ago. And let's not forget, Kimbrell was out for a third of that year, and then he was coming off an injury as well. And then last year's COVID year, he really was shut down a lot the past 2 years. Yeah. And when you're a closer, I'm not giving the guy excuses, but when the Cubs first signed him, he was lights out the first month. And then his ERA, I remember a rough night against Pittsburgh, blew a save, and he was never the same since that. His ERA ballooned to over 6. And then last year, he started out really bad, and then in September, he was lights out. So he got in his rhythm, and then this year he's been lights out since. So Craig Kimbrell's been incredible. And then a guy like Andrew Chafin, he had a 3.0 ERA for us last year in 2020 in 4 appearances, and then this year in 40 games, he has a 1.42 ERA in 38 innings with 35 strikeouts amongst those innings, and he's a lefty specialist. His whip is .73 as well. So Andrew Chafin could really be a dynamic tool. Craig Kimbrell will be gone for sure. Andrew Chafin will be gone for sure. And then I put outside money on Zach Davies. I put him at like a 5% chance to be the next domino to fall. He hasn't had an incredible year, but we know that teams just get desperate around the deadline, especially smaller market teams that can't afford big money pieces quite exactly this time of year. So I would really look for a team like even Oakland. We keep mentioning them, but we know they could use veteran pitching. Wouldn't be shocked if a guy like Zach Davies ends up in Oakland or something along those lines. Even Los Angeles Angels, Joe Madden wants to win. They're making a little run in that division, with their record. They're nearing 500 baseball. Ohtani's the talk of baseball. Mike Trout's going to be coming back. They could use pitching help as well. I wouldn't be shocked if Zach Davies ends up on one of those ball clubs in the AL.
Here's a quick scenario. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I would say I like the Angels being active at the deadline just because I think they need another arm. I don't know if it's bullpen or starting rotation. Raisel Iglesias hasn't been what they thought he was going to be. But if they got an arm, I think they can, and Trout comes back and be what he was before he got hurt, they could make a run, especially with the way Ohtani's been swinging the bat from start to finish. So, Alex, your point you were going to make, I'm sorry about that.
Just really quickly, to back up Tone's point, I think Kimbrell's the first, and I see him going back to Boston, and then Boston lines up Matt Barnes as your setup, and Kimbrell your closer. And
I heard that last week too. Jim DeShays was actually mentioning on the air last week. He said outside chance. He goes, "What if Kimbrell Barnes?" And then I agree with you. I would absolutely put Kimbrell as closer, but realistically, I guess if Boston's comfortable with Barnes, the year Barnes is having and Ottavino in that bullpen, you could do some magic with those three in the back end of that bullpen.
That would be huge. Now, I want to jump let's go back to the American League Central for a second. So I'm flipping through Twitter as you were talking, Tones, because I want to see if I saw anything else that we could dive into as far as the move goes. But here's something no one's talking about. Do we know who the Mets pitching coach is? Does everybody remember?
Mets pitching coach is
Jeremy Hefner, former Met and former pitching coach of the Minnesota Twins. How about Jose Barrios in Queens?
Wow. Yeah, and I mean, I could see him on the move, and Minnesota is one of those teams that's a second half player, but they're so deep in a hole in the AL, and they got a lot of problems over there. So I don't know. I think he would look good for the Mets for sure. But I don't know. The Twins are a weird team. You never know what they're quite going to do. But if he does end up moving,
I agree. But the Twins also need a middle infield.
Oh yeah,
and this is where we have the Ronnie Mauricio chip again. So hey Alex, would you be happy to get Barrios out of the American League Central?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. The Sox have tended to hit him not too bad as of late. So if he stays, it's fine. But if he goes, even better.
Gotcha. And listen, this is going to be – I think this is going to be one of the craziest trade deadlines because of the way last year was. I think it's going to be an absolute nuts day start. And it's a Saturday too, which is the absolute best.
I have heard
no one's going to get in trouble for paying more attention to Twitter.
Sorry, I've heard rumblings.
What have you heard rumblings of?
Of another Twins Mets connection, potentially a Josh Donaldson if they're not able to line up Bryant.
I don't know. I don't know if I want Josh Donaldson, to be very honest with you. From a selfish standpoint, I think the Mets could re-sign Chris Bryant. I really do. I think they have the capital finally to actually make that deal with Steve Cohen as the owner. But I want Bryant, if they're going to make a deal for a player, I want Bryant because I want his versatility. Because now we can look to do what I wanted to in the offseason, and that's move Pete Alonso to third base, move Dominic Smith to first base full-time, play Bryant left field. But, yeah, it's not that I don't like Donaldson. I love Donaldson. But, no, I'd rather have Bryant But if the Mets are going to go to Minnesota, I think Berrios is the move because you're not going to get an ace. You're not going to get an ace. But you put him in the middle of all-star Taijuan Walker, what Marcus Stroman has done. You add Berrios. I said Cookie was pitching tonight. Tyler McGill has not been bad at all. David Peterson was starting to show signs before he got hurt. Now you have the depth to make the run. And, oh, by the way, Thor's on the horizon. He was in New York throwing last week. So they got a lot of stuff coming back. I mean, your boys with Eloy coming back, and you had one other guy hurt.
Luis Robert.
Yeah. What's his prognosis?
He's probably like 2 to 3 weeks behind Eloy. So I would say sometime in August, middle of August, probably.
All right. Let's talk about the other shortstops we were mentioning. Even if we don't come up with the fifth one, which will end up driving me nuts at some point in time. I don't think Kyle Seager will be traded by the Dodgers. I think he's pretty well entrenched there.
That's Corey
Seager. Or Corey Seager, I'm sorry. Kyle's the one plays third base for Minnesota or Seattle, right?
Seattle.
Yep.
Okay. I got the brothers mixed up. I'm sorry. So is Story really the only one we're talking about being moved? Because I don't think Houston's going to go stir crazy stupid and trade Correa.
That would be the foolish move of the season if they did that.
I wouldn't know what to say. I would probably just stare at my phone and go, "What?"
Yeah, I don't really see it happening, but I mean, it's sports. You've seen stranger things happen.
Yeah, we're 5 years removed from Bartolo Colon's home run.
Yeah, where's isn't Big Sexy floating around somewhere still nowadays?
Big Sexy's pitching in the Mexican League, and there is a groundswell movement on Twitter for the Mets to sign him as a depth piece.
There's a lot of good players actually in the Mexican League right now. I've seen Oliver Perez is over there. He actually had an ERA under 2 with the Indians this year, if I remember correctly, before going over there. So
he turned himself into a very good lefty specialist out of the bullpen.
Correct.
I famously remember him as the guy who started Game 7 of that 06 LCS against Alex's dad's Cardinals, and did not pitch bad.
Okay, so I got the list of shortstops who will be free agents. Javier Baez, Carlos Correa. He's older, but Brandon Crawford, even though he's 35, he was an all-star this year. Corey Seager, Marcus Semion's another big one. And then Trevor Story, Chris Taylor. Yeah.
I don't think Semion's going to go anywhere because Toronto's in it.
No, probably not, but he is a free agent. You never know. We've seen players that sometimes choose money. You never know.
And isn't Semien playing second base because Bo Bichette's at short?
Yeah, but this is just listing potential. I know with Oakland he played short, and
okay, yeah, no, I know that.
Yeah, so I think it's just listing potential shortstops.
Gotcha. So now let's go into the first half. Let's obviously the big stories in the first half in the American League anyway has been Ohtani, and how amazing he has been. The Babe Ruth comparisons notwithstanding, I'm going to say something probably controversial. He needs to stop pitching.
I would agree.
Not yet. Not yet.
I say he needs to stop pitching because
he's the Angels' only pitcher right now.
It's not going to happen this season. I'm saying, but for his career, he needs to stop pitching.
Correct.
If he loses another season to Tommy John, you're talking about losing maybe the biggest bat not named Trout in your lineup.
But he still batted that entire season.
Did he DH that entire season?
Correct.
I thought he was out. Okay.
He never missed a year batting yet. He still played every season. He only didn't pitch in one of the seasons. He's an incredible athlete, and that's the thing with a guy like Shohei Ohtani. He's batting. He's the best hitter in baseball at this given moment right now, and he's the best pitcher on the Angels right now. Joe Madden's the best at utilizing players to the best of their abilities and taking advantage of most out of their players. I think that Ohtani's in a great spot for being utilized, and you damn well know that he's on the Angels for only a couple more seasons. He'll be a pitcher for his duration of his time in LA. LA just never is pitching. They need to, if they're smart, they go get an ace or some pitching help either this offseason or now, because you can't waste Trout, Ohtani, and Rendon. I know Rendon's been oft injured, but you have those three of the better hitters in baseball. And you're telling me that you can't go out and get some big name pitching help? Come on.
Especially in an LA market, which is shocking to me.
Correct. Correct.
So we just got a hit on Periscope from my buddy Willie from Shakeback Media Group, who I do the Family of Baseball podcast with those guys, and with Willie and Nat, who is the Indians SI Cleveland beat writer.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of fun.
Let me tell you, these two, they can go, man. They go like us. They're great. They're absolutely awesome. I got to get the four of us together at some point in time. I didn't have time to put it together for this one because we have been talking about this since the draft. I think we talked about this. Speaking of the Major League Baseball draft, for the first time in a long time, I paid attention to what the draft was going to look like. I think it's because of who went number 2 overall, Jack Leiter, who went to Texas from Vanderbilt. But did you guys see what the Mets did at 10?
I did see that. Mm-hmm. You got the Vandy boy, huh?
We got Kumar Rocker.
Yep.
Now, here's the kicker. The big thing about Rocker is he's ready. His slider and breaking stuff will play at the big league level now. So somebody had said to me on Twitter, said they see the Matt Harvey line. Harvey was drafted in 2010, was in the big leagues by July of 2012. So you're talking he was drafted this year. Next year or the year after, I think Rocker could be in the big leagues. Here's the one difference that will help Kumar Rocker. When Harvey walked into the clubhouse in Arizona in 2012, he was the ace. That was it. Santana had already been hurt. We knew Dickey was not going to come back, even though he won his Cy Young that year. Kumar Rocker's going to walk into a clubhouse with Jacob deGrom and Taijuan Walker and Marcus Stroman, hopefully. Do you see a guy a year and a half out of college, or maybe even a year out of college, being able to come in and, if it's this guy or Jack Leiter, can they contribute right away? Leiter's going to have to carry a staff, though. Do either of those guys have the makeup, do you think?
No, not right off the bat, no. It's very rare in baseball that prospects or that draft picks do end up contributing right away. And I mean, they could maybe toss some, pivotal innings, but the risk reward, just go out and trade a mid-level prospect for a guy who could give you those innings to start as well, and save your young guys some innings. Don't stress them out right away and easily ease his way in like a normal prospect, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. How Rocker would be a back of the rotation guy. You still wouldn't take that chance with that talent?
I don't know. I have a hard time putting myself in that position to making these young guys vulnerable at that young of an age, with that little of experience right off the bat. It's just a little crazy. Not saying it's impossible. We've seen rare examples that have been just fine doing it, but again, you never know how it could turn out, and it could go either way.
No, here, Alex. What do you think?
I think you give him another year to kind of develop in the system, kind of get some experience, get his feet wet. Throwing alongside your Jacob deGrom, Marcus Stroman, and so forth. And then 2023, you let him go, and obviously you put him as your number 4, your number 5, and see how it works out. And you give him 5 to 10 starts, and if it doesn't work out well, you send him back down to develop, knowing he's still 22, 23 years old, 24 years old at the worst. Not a bad problem to have, realistically.
No, and I understand that. I mean, the whole thing with Rocker was really the Harvey comparison and how quickly he was there because he went through the 3 years of school at North Carolina. And like I said, he walked into a clubhouse where he needed to be the guy. Rocker would walk into one where he doesn't need to be the guy. So I just kind of put it on that parallel with that there. And Willie, just so you know, yes, I don't think you should put that in the young kids either. But like I said, that Rocker's a different animal with what he would walk into. Just, again, my own thing there. So we hit the draft. What surprised you guys in the first half? Alex, I want to start with you. When we did our baseball preview way back when, night after the Super Bowl, night after somebody didn't sleep the night before, when we did our season preview the night after the Super Bowl, has anything not happened that has just absolutely blown your mind?
I am still thoroughly shocked by Kevin Gausman and the San Francisco Giants and how well they are playing. That is the one right there that is continuing to get me. And bravo to that team and that organization, because they're staying relevant in a division that we thought was going to be the toughest, and it really is, realistically, is the toughest, with the Dodgers lurking and the Padres right there as well too. So the San Francisco Giants, the fact that they have not fallen off 82 games in, is bravo to them, because they deserve it.
No, I'm with you. Tom, what about you? Besides the Giants, obviously, because we all three of us are shocked by that. Has something not happened that you're shocked by?
Has something not happened that I'm shocked by?
Has something that you thought would happen this season not come to fruition that just kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I thought although I thought they were a little weak at pitching, I did think the Cardinals would be a little better position at this point in time. One other thing that stands out to me, the Mariners are playing impressive baseball. I tip my cap to them, especially with James Paxton going down so early for them. He was supposed to be their big offseason acquisition, and he went down in his first start of the year, and the Mariners are only a couple games out of a wild card spot, and they're actually playing really good baseball. So that's been pretty fun to see how well they're doing. And honestly, that division is going to be a fun division to watch the second half with the Astros, the Angels, the Mariners, and the Athletics. So I don't know. And another thing is all these no-hitters have been wild as well. It's been wild. There's been a couple 7 innings no-hitters, a couple shared no-hitters. I don't know if you guys heard as well today some rules that Manfred said are changing next year. There's no more 7-inning doubleheaders next year. There will be 9-inning doubleheaders if they do happen to be doubleheaders. And they will start back-to-back, though, which I really like about that. So they're not going to be the day-night spread out. It's going to be 9 innings, and then, all right, a couple minutes in between game on. And I think it's good for the fans. And then also no more man on second to start extra innings, which I love, because that just ruined. Why not at that point end it in a tie, because the guy's going to score, and it's really just depends who has the heart of their order coming up at that point in time, because the rally's already created itself. So I think actually Rob Manfred, as cringeworthy as it is to say, Rob Manfred makes 2 good calls in my book on these rule announcements. So baseball has really been fun this year. It's been an incredible first half, and between the emerging stars we got, like Ohtani, like Tatis, like Acuna, sad to say he went down, and then some of these rule changes upcoming, you could tell baseball's, impressive. I will say baseball's been nothing but impressive.
Hey, Mike, I got a quick question for you after you make your point.
Yeah. So the thing that shocked me, and yeah, Vlad Jr. Willie's been off the charts too. The thing that shocks me is the National League East is the worst division in the National League. I'm floored that teams with that much talent in the Mets and the Nationals and the Braves and the Phillies. I'm floored. I am floored that the Mets are the only team over 500 in that division. Absolutely floored. So, Alex, what were you going to say?
So this is a little bit for you because you're in the New York market. How were the Yankees only 3 games above 500?
Hey, go on. I got some Kimbrel news after this, but go on.
There's two very simple reasons. Number one, they have the shortest porch in baseball in right field and have 0 left-handed bats. Number two, they're pitching behind Garrett Cole, pre-sticky stuff rules, has been marginal at best. 3, Garrett Cole has had 2 good starts in the last month. One of them being in Houston, which I'm sure he figured out a way to cheat down there like he did the last time. Sorry. So I can't.
It's okay.
I can't.
It's okay.
And here's the third reason. Here's the last reason. Chapman is garbage, and he is hot garbage. No offense to Jared Walsh, who was an all-star this year. He should not take Chapman deep for a grand slam to tie a game. Ever.
Yeah, I did see that the other day. That was shocking.
Look, I live with a Yankee fan, and I fully embrace the fact that she's a Yankee fan. I want a $5 scratch off because of that weekend with the Mets. But watching that, I sat there with my son on my lap during the first game of the doubleheader on July 4th. And as soon as Chapman let go of that slider to the polar bear, I knew the game was tied. Because it was flat, and I'm thinking, oh, Pete's going to hit this ball a long way. I think I even texted you that day, Alex, and said, are you watching this? I mean, seriously, he has been terrible. He's been terrible. I mean, but that night, you see they do have guys. That one that, the lefty. I don't even know what his name was. The guy made a spot start. He was brilliant. Shane Green was great out of the bullpen that night. They have the pieces to make a run. But when you have a middle of a lineup that's going to strike out 600 times in a pitching deep environment that is 2021, you're not going to win games. So it's a confluence of all of it. Your $300 million man doesn't have his $300 million substance anymore.
It's just surprising to me, and I'm not saying that they're not going to figure it out, but for them at this point of the season to be 8 games back is just like, whoa, didn't see that coming. I didn't see them being 8 games back, but I did see them at some point having a deficit because I thought Toronto would be the one to go after. I really did. What the Red Sox are doing, did either of you guys see this?
No, especially after I know it's only one series, but I remember opening series, the Orioles were embarrassing them, and everyone was like, "Oh, what the hell's going on here?" I mean, great year by the Red Sox, and they're getting Chris Sale back in a couple weeks, and we all know the type of money they have to pull out of the wazoo at the trade deadline. So, with those two factors into consideration, they could be a nice team. And by the way, the Craig Kimbrel little tidbit I've seen, take it for how you want, but I've seen Bob Nightingale tweeted, seems like the Mets are a perfect fit for Craig Kimbrel. He literally just tweeted that 1 or 2 minutes ago. So
he also tweeted out that they seem like the perfect fit for Chris Bryant, too.
Oh, maybe he's just going to delete whatever one doesn't happen then. Maybe Bob's just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. But
yeah, because the Mets Raccoon Twitter account just tweeted out his thing from February 4th. Trevor Bauer and the Mets have a deal.
Did he really tweet that?
Yes, he did on February 4th. Alex, you and I both said he wasn't getting out of this year without cuffs on. Tone, what do you think? Is Bauer going to be going to baseball jail?
Man, I mean, it's tough to see what's going on here. Obviously, none of us really know what's going on here, so it's hard to say what's exactly happening in that situation. All I know is it's ugly. There's a lot of smoke that's being blown, and we know that in all of sports, each commissioner has their own rules, and their rules aren't real life's rules. So we've seen some guys that break the rules in real life that get to play in sports, and then we've seen some guys that don't break the rule in real life, but they don't get to play in sports. So it's really all depends. Like, it's crazy. We've seen a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, right, wrong, or indifferent, gets found not guilty, but he gets to play in the NFL, right? So a guy like Trevor Bauer, maybe he's going to miss no time, but obviously he's missing time now, but maybe no suspension comes of it, or maybe he gets suspended even though he gets found not guilty, right? Addison Russell technically didn't get found guilty in the court of law. He gets suspended for a long time. And then a guy like, a couple other guys in the NFL, Greg Hardy got suspended 4 games, should have been much longer. He threw his girlfriend on a gun of bed. So in sports, it's just really rare. Like, it's really sad to say too, because it should be pretty cut and dry with anything, physical like this. And now, we're seeing it happen with Richard Sherman as well, sadly. So we just continue to see it in sports. Hopefully the Trevor Bauer thing isn't true. I'm hoping I don't know. Either way, it's sick. If the girls are lying, it's sick. If Trevor Bauer really did this, it's sick. One way or another, it's a sick situation, and I hope it gets resolved soon. And it's the guy. I don't know about you guys, but it's disgusting to me if it's if Bauer really did that. It's hard because he was such a top image for baseball over the past couple of years, such a verbal spokesperson. And I was just in Cincinnati, the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. They already have Trevor, and he was barely on the Reds, but they got Trevor Bauer game-used items draped in that museum already. So it's just, if that's what's in the Reds Museum, what's in Cooperstown, what's in this? I mean, this guy changed the game of baseball for better for a while, whether you liked him or not, but we'll see what happens. I mean, he might not make it through the year.
Alex, let me ask you a funny question. If I'd have told you on February 15th, which is right around when he signed with the Dodgers, that the Mets would have dodged a bullet and the guy they signed instead in Taijuan Walker was an all-star and Trevor Bauer wasn't, what would you think?
I see you're a crazy man, but now you'd be a millionaire.
I love him too. I really do.
I love Taijuan.
I think Mike Zunino loves him a little more.
His stats have always been incredible for the most part, too. If you look at Taijuan's career numbers, besides injuries that have derailed him a little bit, with the Mariners, with the Diamondbacks, with the Mets, with the Blue Jays, he's put up good numbers. And this is a guy I traded for in fantasy. He's been helping my pitching staff, and I've been lucky to have him. He's been a hoot to have.
I agree, and I got to tell you, he's a Class A dude too. He fits in with that clubhouse really well. I got to tell you, the 3 of the teams I love, and the Mets, of course, win, lose, or draw, they're my team. I bleed orange and blue, but they're fun to watch too. All of them, and the White Sox are very much fun to watch. And listen, my 2 favorite moments of the year so far are when Rizzo chased Freddie Freeman down and screamed his name. Mm-hmm. Which was hysterical. Yep. And when he struck him out.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Cubs have had too many hitters pitch this year, but nonetheless,
Listen, man, I hope I hope a bad season doesn't change any of these guys, a rough year, because I'll tell you what, we are seeing guys in baseball now be as personable as you see guys in the NBA, mm-hmm. which is wonderful to see. Alex, I'm flipping through YouTube, wasting time in the middle of the night when I'm up with Bobby, and I see videos from last year Luis Robert running in front of Eloy catching fly balls with the guy playing right field, and they're just kind of staring at him and having fun. And then you got the Cubs. Contreras throws a bullet to first base, and Rizzo waits till he's not looking, throws a ball back at him. I mean, is it me, or is baseball becoming fun again?
It needs to be. Baseball needs this. They need this type of energy. They need bat flips. You need guys with swagger on the fields. That's what's going to bring fans back to the game. That's going to, put, butts in the seats, better ratings. You got to get this energy into baseball and have their guys be personable. That's what you need. You need to have them connect outside of baseball. Let them show who they are off the field and on the field. They're human beings just like us, only they make ridiculous money, but they're human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah, agreed. And I got to tell you, my other favorite moment from the All-Star game was when Vladdy hit that home run and Tatis was on the microphone and he just put his hands on his head.
I agree, though. Baseball's been incredible. I added in before. The first half has been everything we could ask for and more as fans, and I think they're turning the page for the better for entertainment. When I was down in Cincinnati, you seen it right there live that the Reds fans themselves were it was an incredible vibe down there. Castellanos is having an MVP type season. The T-shirts that Cincinnati's selling, they're selling them like hotcakes too. They have really cool player T-shirts. They got Joey Votto dabbing on one for his 1,000th career RBI. They got one that says, to go with Alex's point, we need more bat flips. They got one that's an Amir Garrett quote. It says, bat flipping son of a guns. That's what he wants the Reds to be, quote from Amir Garrett. Then there's a Castellanos shirt that says, my heart is happy here, and it's Nick Castellanos. I mean, the vibes down there were unreal, I'm sure, around stadiums. I've been to the Rays, Wrigley, Sox Park, Reds Park this year. They're all been incredible. Gentlemen, I hate to cut this short. I've already overstayed my welcome. The guys at Cracker Jacks are hollering at me a little bit. Sorry, fellas. I know you guys are watching.
It's all right.
No, don't be sorry. I'm having fun here. I'll tell them, we can record whenever there. But gentlemen, we got to do this again real soon.
Absolutely.
Like I said, we got to have you guys on Cardboard and Cracker Jack. So, gentlemen, it's been a slice as always.
Absolutely. And let's throw it out there now. Big Rican Baseball Show trade deadline wrap up will come to you August 1st. How about that? I'm
in. Count me in. When is that?
That's a Sunday night.
I'm in. Yep.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, fellas. I'll continue having you on in the background, but I got to record now, fellas.
Thanks, man.
Good night, fellas.
See you, Tone. So let's go back to the fun thing and what I told you before. July 30th, as you can see, I wear my black Mets David Wright T-shirt tonight. As the Mets are bringing back the black unis. One of the things I was looking at, they're going to start selling the black stuff on the Mets team store soon. So as soon as I see what they're doing, I'll get you. I got you.
Let me know.
I'll let you know.
Let me know.
So what we're going to do next with Tone, and we'll actually do that with him when we do the wrap-up show for the trade deadline in the first. But let's you and I get into this, and let's talk about some of the performances we saw in the first half of the season that really blew our mind. And I'm going to start with my boy, and that is quite simply the best pitcher on the planet, what DeGrom has done. He gave up 5 runs in 3 starts, and his ERA ballooned to 1.02. Ballooned to 1.02. I went out on a limb and said he's going to break the record. He's going to break Bob Gibson's record from 1968. But in the Jacob DeGrom realm with what he's doing and the way he's pitching, let's talk about a guy you brought up in Kevin Gausman, who is having a phenomenal season very quietly because of what DeGrom is doing.
Mm-hmm.
You seem to know a little bit more about Gausman than I do. Is he a power pitcher? Is he a sinker slider guy? What's he doing that he's getting guys out like this?
I would be lying if I told you I've watched a lot of Giants games just because of what time they play here in Chicago. But I know that he's not one who overpowers you. I think he's kind of one for control, and then he can kind of surprise one by you, throwing mid-90s or whatever it may be. But he's just kind of like a little more of a finesse kind of guy, a little bit of control. I'm going to kind of have you guessing basically, which is what all pitchers want to do. But considering the fact that he's not throwing high 90s, he's got to kind of bring some of that creativity to the mound.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's 133 strikeouts in the first half, 1.73, which is still almost a full run higher than what Jake's doing. He's got a .82 whip. I mean, he's basically second in most stats to where DeGrom's going. And listen, he is pitching phenomenal. I will say this. He did tweet out on Monday, Mancini over Alonso in the home run derby. So, Kev, sorry, you were wrong. Now, I know Giolito has been great. Rodon, of course, with a no-hitter. What's Keuchel been like? Because I haven't heard much. I mean, I've been so laser-focused between everything going on with family and the Mets being in first place, using the third most players in the game. I sent you guys the video that SNY did, which my favorite part is Billy McKinney getting off a bus that said Milwaukee Brewers on it. Or Pilar having the mask on.
Yeah.
But listen, what's Keuchel been for you guys? What's he look like?
He's been your number 4, your number 5 guy. Some games he goes out there and, he gives you 5, 6, maybe 7. gives up a couple runs, and then there's other games where he's going out there and he's maybe getting through 4, giving up 3, 4, 5 runs. So he's hit or miss. Realistically, in terms of Chicago and the White Sox, pretty decent rotation. But I would say their number one guys thus far this season have no doubt been Carlos Rodon and Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn right now has a 1.99 ERA. I arguably think that either one of those guys could have started the All-Star game for the American League because they've been just lights out here in Chicago. And the fact that right now Lance Lynn is only on a 1-year contract, I am a firm believer that the White Sox need to do whatever they possibly can to re-sign him. Get him for at least 2 more years, lock him up because he's been everything that Chicago has needed.
And you and I both said that signing was going to be huge for them.
And it's paid dividend.
Consistent.
Yes.
He's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get to one story in the American League that has been blowing my mind, and we touched on it a little bit, and that's the Boston Red Sox. I want to go into a little more. Willie, who is going on vacation. So, Willie, have a safe trip, my friend. We'll get the family of baseball once you get back, and we will get you on the Big Rican Baseball show, too. Did you know that Boston hasn't lost to the Yankees?
Yes.
At all? I didn't know that.
I did know that. My cousins in Texas who are diehard Red Sox fans let the world know every single time. I don't know how that is. I don't know how it is. So get this, and I'm not going to throw any names out there, but born and raised in Los Angeles, moved to Texas, we'll say 10 years ago, but have always bled the red and blue, or the red and white, I should say.
Do you have family from Boston or something?
No.
Wait, I'm 42. How old are your cousins?
They're younger than me. They're early 20s, late teens, 19, 20, 21 years old, 22 years old, in that area.
So the 04 team wasn't what did this?
No. So they are diehard Pedroia fans.
Okay.
They love Rafi Devers. They love themselves Xander Bogaerts. They can't get enough of those boys.
That's great.
They are just
absolutely great.
Diehards. They have traveled the country, I think, to see the Red Sox. I know they've gone to Tampa to go see the Red Sox play. They've gone to the ballpark in Arlington when it was the Arlington ballpark to go see the Rangers and the Red Sox. So they travel far and wide to go see their boys. I don't know if they've been to Boston, but I know they.
I'm sure they'll have to make the pilgrimage if they've gone all the way to Tampa, living in Texas or LA.
Yeah, they went from Houston to Tampa, so they went to that stadium, if you want to call it a stadium.
Listen, the Rangers now play in a shed. I don't know if the Trop's worse.
It looks like a Weber grill that you open up, a stainless steel one.
Does that mean the Trop looks like a big green egg?
a big gray egg, we'll say.
Gray egg, yeah.
Gray.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So I want to ask you something, and I want to turn it to my boy. So we talked about yours, where your pitching has been. Keuchel hasn't been what he normally should be, but Lance Lynn has really saved the day. How are the Mets winning without anything from Francisco Lindor? Because I'm a psycho Met fan. I watch or listen to every game. I don't know. They are he had literally before the home run against Arizona to tie that game back in May, he had 1 hit with a man in scoring position all year. I mean, he has not, offensively, he has not been Francisco Lindor.
I ponder that every day. I look at my fantasy roster and he's 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 5. I'm just like, bro, can you get me a hit or an RBI, just one? So I'm just as mind boggled as you are.
I tell you what, if him and Pete heat up, it's over.
I mean, there's nobody to argue with you on that over here on this front.
And I see Edwin Diaz is doing everything in his power to get off my good side.
He wants to blow saves. That's what he's just let's make it competitive again. Let's go to extra innings. Let's put a guy in second base. Let's do it and win it in the bottom of the 10th. That's what it is.
Well, what kills me about it is Sunday. We had a rough night with Bobby the night before, so I'd actually taken a nap during the game, which seems to be a Sunday thing for me. But I woke up as he loaded the bases in the 8th.
Oh, God.
And I'm going, it was 5-0 when I passed out. What in God's name is going on? And then he punches those two dudes out, and everybody goes crazy. My first thought was, who is left in the bullpen? You cannot send him back out. That is the first decision Luis Rojas has made all year that I've wanted to reach for the TV and choke him. When I saw that he went back out, I went, what are you doing? You're going to lose this game. And, of course, they lose the finale to Pittsburgh, who was very scrappy, by the way.
They're a gritty team. I know they're cellar dwellers right now, but they're a gritty team. They're not going to go out there and just, lay flat for you and watch you just put up 16 on them. They're gonna play. They're gonna play.
They do. I tell you, I like this center fielder. Reynolds, I think is his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just played an All-Star game. I like Frazier. I love the third baseman.
Cabryan,
I love him.
Yeah. He's gonna be good.
He's gonna win a Gold Glove.
I 100% agree.
And you know what? I thought the reaction Arenado got in Colorado the other night was really nice.
That was nice. It was nice to see.
We've been on here an hour already. You believe that?
It's easy. It's easy.
It is easy.
This is like this is a job that you want to do just on a regular basis,
Dude, I would kill to do this for a job. I would. This would be, and you'd be getting money too, because I'd have you on all the time.
We're doing this to one day, hopefully like Al Leiter or somebody watches this and are just like, these guys know what they're talking about. Let's bring them on the show.
So let's get into somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Did you see what Stephen A. ran out of his mouth the other day?
I don't even want to go there, but let's go there.
I can't. I listen. I don't know what he thinks he knows. But he doesn't. We've had the conversation about ESPN in its entirety. I am 9 months older than that network. Just to put that out there. I remember, and I could be wrong, but I distinctly remember the first big contract that ESPN had was with Major League Baseball. And they are trashing this game every chance they get. And now this dude is going to run his yap about Ohtani? First of all, no disrespect. Shohei Ohtani's not the best player on his team. So for Stephen A., interpreter, we don't know what you're saying half the time, dude.
It was just a wholeheartedly ignorant statement that he had to rescind twice. He went on Twitter and put out a post, and then he put out a video later. You knew you put your foot in your mouth, my friend. You knew you did.
That's the things he says he should rescind on Twitter and elsewhere.
What language he speaks, or what Ronald Acuna speaks, or anybody else within baseball, whether they know the language or not, they're here to play baseball. Whether they need an interpreter or not should not reflect how they are treated in the game. That's how I look at it.
Same here. And by the way, Ohtani's interpreter is a pretty cool dude.
He's a legit guy.
He seems he's great.
Yeah.
Go on. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, did you see the next day what Passan went on there and just went after Stephen A. for I think 10 minutes. I didn't see the whole video, but he just basically was like, listen, this man is bringing the best thing possible to the game of baseball in a city and in a state where it bleeds Dodger blue, and you're in Anaheim, just 45 minutes south of Los Angeles, and everybody's like Ohtani, because he's the next great thing for baseball, and it's an embarrassment. He needs an interpreter. What?
First of all, no one talks about Mookie Betts anymore. Has anyone noticed that?
No.
Cody Bellinger is an afterthought.
Yeah.
They have 3 Cy Young Award winners in that rotation. No one cares. It is the Ohtani show, and Trout is going to, and unfortunately, Trout, as far as popularity goes, Trout will ride his coattails. But we could see Mike Trout in the playoffs because of a player like Ohtani to go with him. And this dude,
he's transcending the game. The man this past the other day hit in the home run derby, hit bombs in the home run derby, and he went out the next day and pitched in the All-Star game. He started an All-Star game for the American League, And regardless what people look at the All-Star game, it's a competitive game, and he started against elite competition on the opposite side. Elite. These guys
Agreed.
These guys are not, they're not your plumbers off the street. These guys can hit bombs. They can crush anything. They can hit it 120 miles off the bat. I don't want to hear anything about it.
The only thing that would have made Ohtani starting that game better is if it would have been DeGrom and not Scherzer towing the slab on the other side.
Agreed.
But I understand why Jake begged off. He is the ace of a staff that is in first place at the All-Star break. So I get it. The All-Star game is they're talking about fining players for not going. They're talking Manfred had mentioned that. I think we're headed for a strike next year, unfortunately, if he does that, because you didn't punish players who cheated to win a World Series. We're going to punish guys for not going to an exhibition. That's a little much.
And you're going to throw a rule in the middle of June and say you get suspended or fined if you get caught cheating. The pitchers.
Yeah, that's
right in the middle.
Rough. That's rough.
65 games into the season, you're going to say, let's throw it in right now. Not 2022, not 2023, right now in the middle of the season.
Listen, but you can tell it was an issue.
It is. It 100% was. I mean, you could see who was using it, who wasn't using it. And I can tell you from the home front, I can tell you that one of my guys was definitely using it.
Oh, so was mine. Who do you think on your team?
Giolito, no doubt.
Seriously?
No doubt. Spin rates down dramatically.
Stroman.
I mean, it's around the league. I'm not going to blast anybody who gets caught or who potentially could get caught, because I know my guys have used it. Like you said, your guys have used it. So water under the bridge. But anybody going forward, I guess it is what it is. But we are seeing, guys come back down to earth. And there's a guy in New York who we've texted back and forth about who has significantly come down back to earth.
Is it wrong that I'm taking a lot of joy in that?
No. I mean, because he robbed the Yankees blind. Ooh, did I say what team he was on?
Oh, Alex, because no one knew from what I said before.
Nope.
Willie actually started laughing in the timeline on Periscope.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, listen, as much as I have loved the first half, I am so jacked. I don't know if you saw this. The Mets are not pitching DeGrom until Saturday.
Good call. Good move.
Because it lines him up to see in succession Atlanta, Philly, and Washington.
Oh, smart.
And I'll tell you this, and this is just my opinion of Sandy Alderson and his brain trust running that team. He knows they're going to make a move. He knows they're going to bring in something they need. And I honestly think he's trying to put his foot on the throat of the rest of the National League East and get this thing done.
I mean, you think about it, I hate to see it, and I hate that it happened, but the fact that what happened to Acuna the other day, it's terrible for the game of baseball, but it just made things a lot easier for your New York Mets. I hate to say it.
It really did. So I want to look at something real quick. The last 33 games, that 33 games in 31 days that they just did, which started in June. You get the 3 against the Cubs. You get the 2 doubleheaders. The Mets finished that 33 games at 20-13. If I'm reading it right, it's 20-13. It may be 19-14. Either way, 33 games in 31 days, and you end up over 500, and now you've had a couple of days to relax. You're starting to get healthy, because I don't know if you saw the ball Conforto hit on Sunday, because it was ugly.
I didn't know.
4 rows back in the Apple Reserve seats in right center. Lindor hit one Sunday too.
I did see that one.
It's going to get serious. It's going to get real serious. There's a lot of people who think the Phillies are going to make a run. With the back end of that bullpen, they can't. They just can't. Zach Wheeler has been amazing for them, though.
Oh,
I miss him.
He's been lights out.
I miss him terribly. It's bad. Like I see him. He threw against the Mets a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brody. You jerk. um. So let's hit on a couple more things I want to talk to you specifically about. And then we'll wrap this up because, again, I got a boy who's going to get up and eat in a couple hours.
It happens.
Oh, and I told Willie the other day, Steph, my wife, sent me a picture of him with the perfect circle change grip just laying there.
Oh, you got a baseball play on your hands.
It was on his right hand, unfortunately. If it was his left hand, it'd be a little more jazzed.
He'll take it. He's a righty.
Slider and a changeup. That's all I got to say. So we're going to do our second half predictions for the end of the season. We'll do that with Tone on the first.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to do it tonight, but when he said he had cardboard and Cracker Jacks, that's one thing I want to keep for the three of us to do because we did predictions beginning of the season. If you had to pick right now the award winners, are you going chalk or can someone have a big second half to take an award away from somebody?
I mean, in terms of Cy Youngs, I would think that somebody would have to make a significant run in the NL. In the AL, there's a couple names in the hat. MVP, National League. I mean, arguably, there's two names in the hat, and one of them could win the Cy Young and the MVP. And then in the American League, boy, that MVP race is going to be something. It's going to be something.
You know what the scary part is? It's Ohtani's to lose.
It is,
in my opinion. But if Vladdy gets hot, it's going to get ugly.
What Vladdy's doing right now is phenomenal. And
you're not hearing about it because Ohtani's historic.
Yes. I mean, it's every night.
It is.
29 home runs, 30 home runs, 31 home runs, 32 home runs. What? And it's overshadowed.
Did you hear Excursion on MLB Network?
No.
The last weekend of they're talking about Ohtani being the fastest guy on the team, and all of a sudden he goes, he's a beast. He's going to trot. I was like, wow. Excursion nailed a home run call. That's a wonderful thing. Where do your boys open up Friday? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, actually, they have the Houston Astros in town, and I will be there.
Nice. Oh, you're going tomorrow? Nice.
I'm going tomorrow. I'm going actually tomorrow with my wife, and it just so happened that my tickets fell that I have tomorrow and I have Sunday. I'm taking my parents on Sunday, so
that's awesome.
So yeah, we're getting a treat. Hopefully, they can bounce back because I know Houston was not kind to them deep in the deep in the heart of Texas. So I'm hoping here that my boys can bounce back because it would be nice to just kind of, get that W to get the next 81 games going. And here we go.
How are they running their rotation the second half to start?
Tomorrow they got Dylan Cease. Saturday they got
who's been good, by the way.
Yeah, he's been pretty decent as of late. Giolito Saturday, and then Sunday Rodon, which should be a doozy.
So you're going to go see Rodon on Sunday? Yeah. Nice.
Because this year, every game that I've gone to, I've not seen Rodon. So I've seen Giolito twice. I think I've seen Cease twice. And I haven't seen Lance Lynn yet either. And I want to see him live because apparently if you sit close enough, you can hear him on the mound when he's walking back to the dugout and he's saying nice things about the other team, we'll say.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, that's the it's Tone's brother. Joey's on. Joey, what's going on, man? Because a 2 just popped up on the watch thing, and then I see fellas in big capital letters, and he just predicted the Mets to the NLCS today.
Wow.
You mean World Series.
What's up, Joey?
You think I'm kidding? I'm typing that right now.
I believe it. I can hear your keyboard right now, and it's just all hearts. The heart symbols. That's what you made it.
Exactly. So, yeah, Stroman's going to go Friday, DeGrom Saturday. I don't think they've decided on Sunday yet. He said, what up, Alex? I don't think they decided on Sunday yet. but I would pitch Taijuan Walker. It's going to be his day.
Okay.
Kid's great, buddy. He's absolutely great. Joey just asked how the kid was. Bobby's great. We're going to be wearing our down since 2021 gear for the 7 line this weekend.
Love it.
So yeah, I like the way the Mets are going to line up the pitching. You're going to get your studs against the guys that are chasing you, which is huge. But it is the Mets division to lose, just like it is Chicago's the White Sox division to lose. If they get healthy and they get right, that's a lineup no one wants to face, and it's a rotation no one wants to face. Same thing with your boys in Chicago.
I think right now, if the lineup can get healthy, if we could get Jimenez back in the next week or so, Robert back in maybe 3 weeks, Grandal back in probably like a month. They're right now, the way they're doing it, plugging and playing, they're getting the W, so it works. So I love the guys that they're rolling with right now. But if they can get their normal lineup going, 1 through 8, they are pretty damn scary. There's no question about it.
They are, and especially with their rotation the way it's been this year. Lance Lynn, like you said, a sub-2 ERA. Rodon has been great. Giolito's been good, even though we think he was using the stuff. And Cease has been very good. When's Kopech due back?
Kopech is pitching. He's pitching out of the bullpen now. They got him going. Yeah. Every once in a while, or earlier in the season, before he had his little injury stint, he would start, every game when they need be, and he would maybe go 4 or 5 at most. So I don't know if they're looking to maybe introduce him into the rotation, maybe go 6 every once in a while, depending on how the schedule looks. But out of the bullpen, he's been all that in the bag of chips, if I may say. He has been nasty.
You went 90s on me. I like it.
I did.
I like it.
I did.
Well, with what the Mets announced today, going 90s is pretty pathetic.
It really is.
I can't wait to see Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor rock the black jerseys on the 30th.
That's going to be sick.
I can't wait.
Sick.
I am just so excited by that. So we're an hour and 21 minutes in. 1:21. That's my birthday. So let's start wrapping this puppy up. One last question for you, and this is actually off baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So did you buy your Justin Fields jersey yet?
Not yet, but it's going to be in the mail really soon. I'll tell you that. Really soon.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see you come onto a baseball show wearing your Justin Fields jersey.
I want to give him the crown already. I just want to give it to him. It's Chicago. The Chicago Bears need it, and right now they're actually making a little bit of noise right now outside of the quarterback controversy. They're potentially thinking about moving from Soldier Field.
Whoa!
Moving a little bit northwest to Arlington Heights, which is probably from downtown Chicago, probably 45, 50 minutes, we'll say. They're thinking about buying a racetrack where they race horses, building a new stadium right there with a dome, kind of making it multi-purpose, get yourself maybe some Final Four, some concerts.
And get a Super Bowl to Chicago.
Bingo. I mean, everybody else, except obviously for the Packers in the division, has got themselves a dome. And right here in Chicago, we basically have ourselves a relic of a stadium with a spaceship at the top. So,
yeah, it is a spaceship at the top. Mm-hmm. That is crazy stuff.
So it's kind of in the process right now. The city is taking, I guess, bids right now, in my understanding, and I know the Bears put in on a bid for the land. So obviously, this is nothing that's going to transpire over the next year or so. This is 5 to 7 years probably in the making, if not longer. So it's not going to be a flip of a switch. But if they were able to pull it off, it would be kind of interesting to see exactly what they would do with Soldier Field going forward. Because technically, the Bears don't own it; it's owned by the city.
It's going to go the way of the Kingdom, dude.
I don't go to realistically Soldier Field for anything. I mean, I've been there for Bears games, but if the Bears are not there, I don't see.
I refuse to go to the Meadowlands, and I live too far away from. If I'm traveling to Ohio for football, I'm going to Columbus. So we're going to wrap this up here. And speaking of Columbus, I want to throw this out there to anybody watching or on the Twitterverse on Periscope. I am looking to do a series of college football previews this year. I would love to get someone, a fan of each of the Power 5 conferences on to discuss your conference and debate what you think is going to happen this season, including the name and likeness stuff. So that means, somebody from the SEC, somebody from the ACC, somebody from the Big 12, somebody from the Pac-12, and of course, somebody from the Big 10, hint, hint. I would love to go in depth this season. I didn't get to do a college football preview last year because of everything going on. I only did my Ohio State pregames. So I'd love to start there. So Alex, let us know where row 7 is, and we're going to get this puppy wrapped up.
Row 7 podcast is available on all major streaming outlets: Spotify, Deezer, Stitcher, Apple, iHeart, Amazon. We're all over the place, all over Twitter at Row 7 Podcast. Mike, thank you very much for the time. I always love it, talking baseball with you and Tones. Looking forward to many more baseball conversations because, we can go hours and hours and hours. So nothing but a blast, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime, bud. And as always, Big Rican can be found here on YouTube, Big Rican on Sports, Facebook, Big Rican on Sports, and of course on Periscope through Twitter at Big Rican on Sport. Almost all the same places as you are: Spotify, Breaker, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Amazon, and of course Google Podcasts as well. Alex, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful, wonderful evening as always. But it is time to put the Big Rican to bed. Have a great night. I will talk to you soon. I will see you guys on the 1st for the baseball show trade deadline wrap up.
Sounds good, man. Take care,
bud. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.